India, in a way, is the land of the unicorns now when it comes to the number of new unicorns coming up, on the scene for startups. Um, India, as of now, has about 52 unicorns, as we call them, with the potential to become unicorns by 2022. The world's third largest startup ecosystem is now all poised for a disruption. India is expected to have about 100 unicorns by 2025, and this figure, of course, may seem very small in comparison to countries like China and the US. However, given the market factors, the vibrancy in the Indian ecosystem, India is all set to achieve this target as well. One important statistic that I would want to bring in here is a report by KPMG in 2019. It very clearly stated that the average time taken by Indian startups to become unicorns is just 5 to 7 years, which is quite remarkable. It's quite fast at the pace at which these companies are now becoming unicorns. Just to mention, we are just in the first 15 days of 2021, and we have the first unicorn company from India. Digit Insurance is the first unicorn for 2021 with a $18 million fundraise that they've done. This Bangalore-based insurtech startup, in the digital space, has become the first Indian startup to enter the Unicorns Club in 2021. So this is where we are heading. I think the support from the ecosystem, the investors' faith in the companies in India or the startups in India, and of course, more importantly, the government support that also there with Startup India. I think that is where we will see a lot more unicorns coming out of India in the years to come. I would want to refer to one of the previous articles that I wrote on how 2020 has been for Indian startups. If you look at what happened in India, like everywhere in the world, the pandemic did take a toll initially. But it has also played a critical role in accelerating the rate of technology adaptation by consumers and by businesses as well. This has provided significant tailwind for startups across categories. Sectors which benefited from COVID, for example, edutech or fintech or health and pharma or FMCG, except for tobacco, of course, are among some of the sectors that registered good performance in the year as well. In 2020, Indian tech startups not only managed to stay afloat in midst of the pandemic and the uncertainties, but also they did a lot of rapid innovations. They also converted the crisis into an opportunity. What has happened is many entrepreneurs have pivoted to meet new needs for goods and services that are born out of the crisis itself. There's also an interesting case where the adaptation for deep tech has led to increased investments from venture finance firms and other funding agencies. According to one of the reports, 14% of the total investment in 2020 were in deep tech startups, and this was up from 11% in 2019. So this has seen a change in the way things have happened in India in 2020, and we look at it to continue in 2021 as well. Of course, as I earlier said, the pandemic has changed our lives quite significantly. It has brought a new trend, a lot of new trends. For example, work from home or study from home culture, or faster adaptation to technology, as I said earlier. So there's a lot of things that have changed, and we've learned from it. And 2021 definitely is going to mark a year, as a new era for the Indian startup ecosystem. Looking at the new numbers in terms of the report that you mentioned, which talks about 12 new unicorns being added to the current tally of startups and taking it to 50. This means there are a lot of startups that are ready to even get listed and get IPOs out soon. This means a lot of exits for investors, which will attract more investors coming into the UK market, into the Indian market. So we see a lot of positive, signals coming from the Indian startup ecosystem at this point of time. We also are expecting that those sectors which probably took a step back during the pandemic might start looking at getting back as well, along with those sectors that have done really well, in 2020. So these things clubbed together will make the year more interesting for us to look at. And as the year folds by and the trends continue, we hope to see more numbers. Like as I said, it's just 15 days into the new year, and we already have a unicorn out of India. So going at this rate, we would have more than 12 as well. So let's hope it's a good year for not just the Indian startup ecosystem and startups in India, but also for the world as a whole.